Welcome in all. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I think the levels are alright. Everything's showing me that it's working, so I can only hope that that is the case. Welcome in to what will very, very shortly be Aegis Day and the release of the Tiburon. Welcome in to Honey Spring, to Citizen Ninja, to Jamlack, Mark Excellent, JB Jeep, to Space Saga, Jukester, Stunner, Cold, Kelko, Ashra, and everyone else. Daniel Marstrand, welcoming, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, so there we go. Citizen Ninja, I'm going to ignore your comment entirely. Honey Spring says, cannot wait, and it'll soon be released, and I'll have to get me one. I just want to know how it all comes together and what the defense it has going for it. Cannot wait. Hello, Richard Scarlett. Hello, Kempy. Tibbs, welcome in. Good to see you. So yeah, I'm catching up. So I had just enough time to get home from work. Yes, I'm still work. Bottom half down. No, you can't see, you filthy rotters. But luckily enough, in time. This time for start, unlike last time. So quite excited. And I'm also quite excited for the whole guessing the Daily War Bond yet again. So I got it right with the Wolf, and now I've got it right. I said it would be one of the Guardian series most likely. If it wasn't going to be the Guardians, it would be the Argo SRV. But it is. It's the Guardian Qui, which is available for the next 12 minutes if you want it. And it's from 260 down to 240. So yeah. Maybe that'll help some people out. Maybe it won't. Who knows? All I do know is that now I'm frantically watching, what do you call it? This thing over here, that YouTube. That's the one for the trailer. It didn't look like, and maybe we can have a look at this very, very quickly. So I'm just going to go back to this one. Let's go to explore very quickly to the com links, and then I'm going to put that. I didn't mean to do that. But never mind, we can have a look in just a second. So, click. This week in Star Citizen, having a look at what's going on. We were hoping for some sort of explanation around what's going on with the Odin. We were hoping for some sort of explanation around what was going on with the Tiburon. Now, here's what we have. Okay, so on Wednesday, we have a roadmap update coming. We have a Q&A for the Tiburon, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Okay, and that's that. Friday, Crusader and Tumbril. RSI weekly letter. And then Sunday, when the Anvil Odin goes live, okay, we'll have the Star Citizen Live with a dedicated Q&A on the Odin. Okay, so there will be that on Sunday, and what I'll do is closer to Sunday, keep an eye on your YouTube notification feed. I'll figure out when that's going live, and maybe we watch that together and then look at the Odin. That sounds like it might be a good shout, or we look at the Odin and then watch that together. Whatever it is, we'll figure something out, and we'll watch that depending on what time it's going to go live. I'm sure it's there already somewhere. I'm sure someone is already telling me. I've just hidden my chat for a moment. But yes, there we go. That's what we'll figure out. That's how we'll work it all on Sunday. The Crusader one on Friday, I probably will go live. We'll have a look at the war bonds either side. It'll likely be a short stream. Now, I know I said in the last stream I was going to look at some of the ships and record the videos. I've not had the time. So maybe I do some of that Friday afternoon when I got the afternoon off of work, and maybe we'll do that on Friday. We'll have to see. I'm still pretty damn busy at the moment, unfortunately. So maybe we'll do that, but I will at some point have a quick down and dirty look at all of the new ships. Maybe that's a video, maybe that's something that's just a live stream, maybe that ends up being both, but we'll see. Fingers crossed for a Vanguard Harbinger Warbond CCU. Interesting, yeah, we'll have to see with Aegis. I don't know. I won't throw a prediction out there. We'll have a look at the Tiburon in just a moment. So that's that bit. What's probably worth looking at very, very quickly? Well, do you know what? We'll have a look afterwards. Do we want to have a look afterwards? What do we want to do? Do we want to look at funding now or later? We'll have a look at it now. Ray, welcome in. John, welcome in. Good to see you. So very quickly then, before it changes over from the Guardian Qui War Bond and from the MISC, Mirai, Argo, and Greycat day over to Aegis is we'll have a quick look at this. So we're up to 984 mil, which is kind of crazy. That's a significant jump up. We're talking still some pretty big hours at the moment, and we won't obviously have this data until after the release of the Odin. Now, there have been details released by the Odin, but about the Odin, we'll talk about it on Sunday. Those that applied to be part of the Odin Founders Club, emails have been released to let people know who's been let in. Is that the only wave? We don't know, but it looks like the waves will be very much limited like they were before. They are doing a bunch of waves, so one at 1600 UTC, one at 2000, and get on and on and on. And I would imagine they are probably expecting a number of applications to be part of the Odin Founders Club that won't actually go through with a purchase. Okay, we do also know the cost, and it's not cheap. Okay, so there. So I'm just going to jump across quickly to the funding. So as I haven't done that yet, let's jump across. So this is where we are at the moment. 984 mil, 990,000, a significant amount of money. That's through the week. For the day, where, I mean, yesterday, not a huge day. Unsurprisingly, with the Starlite only being 20 grand. Sorry, 20 grand? Where did that come from? I just looked at something and read 20. But not a big surprise with the Starlite only being $60. There we go. That's better. That's a better number. Let's go with that. So the 19th, with only the Starlite to come out, is the lowest performing day yet of CitizenCon at about just over 1 million by the looks of this. So still not a bad day as it goes, but that's where we sit. And then skipping through this very, very quickly, this is where we are funding right now. I'm going to go ahead and say, I mean, if the Tibberon ends up being like the Perseus, today could be crazy. And you can see this down here, right? You can see the day the Perseus concept sale went out, they had a huge day. The Tibberon possibly the same, although I understand that a lot of the interior modeled like the Hammerhead, so it might not be, depending. Hammerhead's getting its gold pass, so there is all that to go as well. But they could have a massive day. But as it stands, I would say, even with the Odin, we're probably going to be at the same level or slightly lower than the 29 million last week. We're on 17 million at the minute. 12 million still to go. Although I suppose they could pull some war bonds out of the hat right at the end, pull out some really useful ones, some really tasty ones, and people could also get... they could see a bump from that, is what I'm saying. So that's where we are with the funding. And then coming back to where we are at the moment, Guardian Queen, War Bond deal down to 240 from 260. And that, I think, catches us up just about, he says, to the whole ready for Aegis Day. Yes, before you ask, I am on no caffeine. The sleep has gotten that bad. I'm cutting caffeine out of my diet completely. So we're now on no caffeine copium, cunningly disguised as Diet Coke. So there we go. And yes, you're going to have to watch me drink it from the bottle because I'm a heathen. So there. If they sell 2,000 plus Odins, they'll go over last year anyway. I mean, are there 2,000 psychopaths who are going to go over that? I don't know. I'm happy for people that like the Tibberon, especially if they're swapping from a Hammerhead, says John, but I'm keeping my Perseus. Yeah, absolutely. Reclaim a war bomb, please, says Dr. Pepix. Yeah, I get that. I've got the Reclaimers a favourite ship of mine. Not even a beer, says Tibbs. Tibbs, it's a school night. And the last time I gave you guys the option to vote Diet Coke or cider, you guys actually voted for Diet Coke. So I'm just going to stick with Diet Coke throughout the week. It's going to be easier. As much as I support self-medicating, maybe not right now. You think more than 2,000 Odins. Interestingly. All I've got to say about that is people have got far too much money on their hands. That's all I'm saying about that. So there we go. If you're the only one drinking from said bottle, drink away. If you're sharing the bottle, Backwash City, no thank you. I am the only one. I'm all alone. Is this the meeting of the Badgers fan club? I have no idea. You tell me. But I hope so? Question mark. So there we go. Yeah. Diet Coke is a lot of caffeine though. It does, except where you buy the one that says no caffeine. So I'm good. We're safe. We're all right. I keep looking for caffeine-free Mountain Dew. Yeah, it's kind of like alcohol-free beer. It's entirely pointless. But there we go. I too like the bubbles. I think they limit the Odin to far less than 2,000. Don't know, Eve. Welcome in, by the way. Ruboy, good to see you, bud. Yeah. So, yeah. There we go. When Aegis. Literally 3 minutes. Literally 3 minutes, Jaeger. We are almost there, my friend. Viper Leo, hello, buddy. Americans, disposable income, question mark. Yeah, I know. I'm in Europe. We have nothing. We don't even know what that means anymore, let alone how to spell it. Only thing disposable is here is us. Good Lord. No, that's not true. Not disposable, mate. Absolutely not. Yeah, so that's where we are at the moment, and very, very shortly, I'm hoping we'll change over to Aegis, and I will also be looking at the YouTubes. You guys give me a heads up as well, so that if we get the YouTubes thing, and we get some sort of trailer, we'll do what we normally do. We'll watch the trailer first, okay, and then we'll have a look at everything else afterwards. Oh, I had a notification there, but it's something else. The Lion Whisperer just debated me massively. I subbed to the Lion Whisperer on YouTube. Completely debated me and was like, "Would you like to?" I will, not just now. So I'm frantically clicking through the thing with the stuff and waiting for that to appear. 1 minute now to Aegis Day. And the Tiburon, Tiburon's the only offering we're expecting, and it is just Aegis. And there is a lot to choose from in terms of Aegis ships and war bonds, which is why I'm not going to hazard a guess. With everything else, there'll obviously be a war bond up to the Tiburon, I think. The Starlite didn't get it, I guess, because of its price. But I'm guessing there will be one for a Tiburon and potentially a separate daily as well. But we'll see. I don't have chat up, so if you frantically telling me that it's there and it's done, I can't see it. It's like stealth. Perseus is my favourite ship in that size class, says Malemba, and we use it with 3 folks. I never use my Hammerhead, choose a crew needed, and I doubt the Tiburon will be much better if you want all those turrets manned. Yeah, it's 5 on the Tiburon, yeah, so they don't have anywhere near as much, and I think they're remote as well, which makes that a slightly different function. I'll be interested to see what that room looks like. I hope it's like a CIC, like an ops room. That'd be really cool. Okay, still scoping through, still seeing the MISC Starlite. We're there, CIG. What are you doing? Come on, we're there. Hitting F5, Mirai, Argo, Greycat, Aegis. Here we go. We are up. We're live. Checking for the trailer. Anything? No. Not seeing a trailer yet, but we'll have a look in just a moment. Okay. So, Warbond Daily Deal is the Redeemer then. From 330 down to 300, if that's your bag. And then the Tibberon itself. Spanish word for shark, I think, or it's a Spanish name. For centuries, Aegis has served as the archetype of combat excellence, honing its skill, learning from its scars, and growing its strength in pursuit of creating the ultimate killing machine. One that brings the spirit of a lone warrior standing tall against something greater than itself, ensuring victory against any vessel still living in the past. It's time to topple the food chain. There we go, that's Tibberon. It's out, and I actually really like that view. The black and red is kind of tasty, I'm not going to lie. Am I blind? Have they not released a trailer? Or have they just... Someone's forgotten, haven't they? Someone at CIG has not hit go. Silly. Alright, we'll look at it anyway. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to chat up and see what you guys think. Lots of messages have just popped up. So there we go. It's up. Nope, they're just subs in the arms. Pilot plus 5 turrets on Tiburon, so 6. Here we go. Right. Apex Pred. With an array of front-facing weapons, rare among heavy gunships, the Tiburon bears its fearsome teeth against foes twice its size, putting a shiver down the spine of any captain that believes capital ship dominance is absolute. So another cap ship killer, very much in the same vein as the Perseus, where the Hammerhead is anti-fighter, this thing is anti-large. Uniquely fierce, perched above atop the deadly silhouette of this perfect killing machine, is the ultimate expression of imminent danger. A massive, size 10 beam weapon that puts ferocious power in the hands of the most vigilant and menacing pilots. Okie dokie. Yep, we got 7 crew showing here, potentially. So 7, I guess. That is probably one of the nicest factory standard paints I think I've seen. 121 meters, 68 meters wide, 20 meters tall. This thing is huge. With a bespoke laser beam built into the center of the ship. There won't be any swapping of that out. 32 size 3 missiles, because she needs that, so she's a bit of a missile boat. And then 4 remote turrets, each with 1 size 7 ballistic cannon. And then 1 manned quad size 4, which I think still sits under the aft end here, right? So there's the factory standard. This is the Col Milos, so you've got the teeth on the front, and it's more of a kind of like a dark, almost navy blue. We have the Pinnacle, a commando style paint, the olive drab. Enforcer, black and silver, that's quite nice. And then Vermilion, which is the Chairman's Club paint, which is red. Okay. So, $840, that's including tax, war bond, and that's the VIP, so that's the concierge one. Standalone, $840, so yeah, same price, just concierge available. And then I'm guessing upgrade to it as well. Yeah, okay. So, Tibberon here, 775, as someone's already rightly pointed out, and then 700, did you say? Normal. Which I think... Interesting. Why have you done that? So let's go all ships. So that, does that put the war bond at the same price as the Hammerhead then? Because that would be wily if that's what they've done. That would be clever. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Where did I just see the Hammerhead? Oh, Hammerhead 725, so it's not actually, it's 25 less. Okay, so if you, we did wonder, I was talking about this with someone yesterday, and because of the price, because it's in the same class as Hammerhead, and based on the same hull, the idea of it being like the same price as the war bond stops people very easily stepping up from the Hammerhead. So if you want to go from the Hammerhead, you're paying the full 50 to go up, whether that's credit or whatever. And if you're war bonding to it, what's the closest war bond? So it's still a $50 step up from the Ironclad, the Orion, the Banu, the Carrack. Even more from the Carrack. Yeah, interesting. Not an easy small step. Not an easy small step up for anything there, you know, because of course war bond is new money. So you're talking at the very least here, $50 from the Ironclad Assault, from the Orion, from the Banu Merchantman. You're talking $75 up from the Carrack. $100 up from the Carrack, because it's not the Expedition, is it? $100 up from the Ironclad. Yeah, that's not an easy one. The pilot is the pilot is laser controlled. That's what I meant to say. Or even the laser is pilot controlled. Yes, it very much looks that way. So I just realised I'm not centered yet again. Let's go with that. There we go. That's better. Now you can see more of my pretty self. But there we go. So what do people think? Should have PDCs though, says Ruboy. A human version of a kingship and its spinal beam weapon. Very close to it. Now I need many tonks. I got all the ironclads and two. What are you doing with 2 assaults, Wiggy? That's mental. The inside of the Tibberon is almost identical to the Hammerhead. No CNC room. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. That. David West, welcome in, buddy. There are some retaliator modules as well. Okay, so that's the Tibberon. Heavy gunship pack. So get 1 of each. Get yourself a Hammerhead. Get yourself a Perseus. Get yourself a Tibberon for a lot of money. Ta-da! Yeah, so there we go. I mean, she looks awesome. I really like the silhouette. I mean, this picture here, that's the sort of thing that sells me ships, seeing that. I'm weird, but that's the sort of, that image is the sort of image that sells me ships. Okay, so we're going to come back to the Tiburon, well, unless they put the video up. Which it really doesn't look like they have. No Tiburon. Are you kidding? Someone's mucked up. I reckon someone's added an hour, and we're going to get it in an hour, and they're going to be like, oh my god, I'm really sorry, we put it up for the wrong time. Well, that's silly. Let's not do that. But there we go. Okay. So that's where we are. Let's have a look at the rest of the Aegis lineup then. So that's the Tiburon. We can come back to the Aegis a little bit. We have Aegis Retaliator plus bomb racks. Interesting. We have the Eclipse plus the size 10 bomb racks. There's the Aegis complete pack stuff. And up for sale, there's going to be, 23 vehicles. Aegis is always a large... it is a large offering, right? So we've got the Avengers, Stalker, Titan, Titan Renegade, Warlock. That's 4 of them right there. Eclipse, Gladius Valiant, the Hammerhead, the Idris P. Oh, of course, we've got all the Hull Limited sales as well. So, have we sold out? Of course we have. What about the Javelin? The Javelin can take longer. Not today. Not today. The Javelin is not taking long yet, so there you go. So, again, if you are after these ships and you are unsuccessful, I'm sorry for you. But 4 hours from now, and every 4 hours until this time tomorrow, you will have another stab at these. So you should be all right. The Ironclad Assault is potentially too good with a couple of tonks for broadsides, though. It eats the Percy. You keep my ship's name out your mouth. And how are you doing broadsides? Only the top opens. Rubbish. Malamba on the Polaris Idris. You never man the rear turret. And manning the size 3 one of the Perseus also never happened, says Ezra. Yeah, gone, says Neil B. Yeah, they absolutely are. So yes, all of that stuff gone as well. Idris P and Javelin coming back in 4 hours if you want them. Nautilus is up. Reclaimer is up. See, this is really interesting because, again, ILW at this time of year, bearing in mind this is DefenseCon, ILW is much more centered around military ships. And as you can see at the top there, the Reclaimer is industrial and heavy salvage, but that snuck its way in as well. Redeemer, the Daily War Bond, 300 or 330 if you're buying it like this. The Retaliator is up there. The Sabre is up there. As is the Comet, as is the Firebird Peregrine. No. And then the Tiburon. We get each of the Vanguards. I want to come back to one of those in a little bit. We've also got the Vulcan. Now, the Vulcan's one of the ships that I'm interested. Repair, rearm, refuel with drone gameplay. Looking forward to that bad boy. This is the other ship that I'm really interested in terms of gameplay loops, not necessarily owning it. The Sentinel is an e-warfare ship. And they did a really interesting post years and years and years ago about what they were planning for e-warfare. And I'd be really interested to know what their plans are right now. Whether they're going to continue that, whether that's a 1.0 or after release, I'd be interested. Hey, Jabba, welcome in. So yeah, the Hammerhead quite different as you want the top and rear turrets manned first. As the AI in PvE gathers to your rear, the pilot only has the size of 5 torps on the Hammerhead. So yeah, interesting. That's where we are. That's Aegis Day. A quick reminder then, again, 4 hours before the 27th of May, we'll bag you the racing flight suit. This one here. So any channel streaming Star Citizen with the drops thing enabled should get you your drops. So, have it on, watch it, engage with it, even if you've got it on in the background and you are just lurking, that will get you some loot that will forever be in your hangar and won't be taken away from you. So yeah, unless you lose it, of course. Yeah, interesting. I mean, the Tiburon. Let's have a look. Let's go back to this. I kind of want to have a closer squeeze. I mean, the design itself, the purpose itself, I think was a fairly obvious one. To have one Hammerhead being anti-small, anti-fighter, and then one being large, anti-ship. I think that was kind of an easy guess. You've got so here are the 2 of the man turrets here. And what's interesting about this is they've gone top and bottom rather than attached to the sides with the normal Hammerhead, right? That's the remote bit, I guess, because then you don't need that access, so they don't stick out as much. But the other issue here is this is going to make it quite challenging for arcs, right? And clearly this thing is designed to dive at an enemy straight ahead, where it can bring the size 10 to bear, where it can bring all of its weapons to bear. The minute it needs to maneuver away, not only are you losing the impact of the size 10, you are really, well, I mean, you're going to struggle to be able to keep all your weapons in arcs, because if it's above you, the bottom turrets can't engage. If it's below you, the top can't engage. If you keep it to one side or the other, you might be able to lean and get 3 on target, possibly, but you're not going to get all 4, I would imagine. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. So, yeah. The new bomb racks are on 2, says Dr. Pepix. Yes, they are. Forward firepower, he says. Hey, Socially, good to see you, buddy. Sentinel was also supposed to do info running if outfitted with a module for that. Yeah, I seem to remember something along those lines. JC Real says, I wanted to upgrade the Perseus for the Shark, but I'm screwed on that now. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Perseus was always going to be more expensive. The real question that we had was whether it was going to be the Hammerhead, whether that was going to be an easy upgrade. And I think actually for a lot of people, taking the Hammerhead up to the non-Warbond is going to be easier than getting another ship up to the Warbond. As we saw before, Hammerhead to Tibberon normal price is a $50 increase that you can use store credit for. To get to the Tibberon Warbond, which is $700, your closest step ups there. Oh, sorry, $725. $700. Your closest step up, the Ironclad, the Banu Merchantman, those sorts of ships, $50 of real money. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Lack of PDCs might make the Tibby torpedo bait, potentially. Very potentially. What's the price? 725 war bonds. 700 war bond. 775 stock. So yeah. And you can see that here. So if we go back to the upgrade now. Yeah, 775 normal, 700 stock. Ta-da. I think the Odin is the last item people should be concerned about, says Dave. Game never being fit for purpose and Squadron 42 quite possibly dying on the vine. My concern is for the game in general. Yeah, so, no. is the short answer to that. So Squadron 42, they reconfirmed a couple of weeks ago, if not a week ago, that it is coming this year. So it's not so much dying on the vine, it's almost with us. That's the reason we're not getting CitizenCon this year, is they are focusing on pushing that thing out of the door. So that's coming. Yeah, I mean, the Battlecruiser is always going to be a way away because it's the last of the concept sales. Everything else now going straight to flyable. And that's an interesting milestone. It's something to note, right? Is we've had concept sales forever. Concept sales are now dead. They don't exist anymore. So we have, the game has now evolved to a point where the ships coming in are all ships that are playable, straight to flyable, as opposed to, hey, buy this thing and maybe you'll get it in a couple of years. The Odin is the last of that ilk, and understandably so, because it's massive. And I would imagine when we see this on Sunday, and they show us this new ship, we are going to see gameplay for it which does not exist in the game. I think it's going to be half floating battleship, half floating station. And we'll have gameplay that you won't get on other ships. Not just really big guns and a huge crew requirement. So there we go. Once other ships PDCs can cover, once a ship's PDCs can cover other ships, the Tibberon will work well in the fleet. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those things, right? If you bring out a ship with torps, the Tibberon is going to be quite, at quite a disadvantage, potentially, without PDCs. The other thing is, if you bring a Tibberon to other fights, it's actually going to be quite punchy. So, there's an interesting balance there. So, yeah. No more new concept sales. Old concept ships will still be sold. Well, yeah. But that's what I mean, right? Is we've now passed the stage of they won't be selling any more new concepts, right? So they are now past the point where they need to go. We're planning at this in the future, but we need to sell it now to fund it. Those days are dead. So yeah, I'm happy to crew someone else's Odin, says Wiggy. The F5 war is too rich for my blood. It's going to be an expensive ship for sure. 100%. So yeah. So Tiburon, it looks like it's very much pilot controlled on the weapon, which means that obviously you can fly these things solo. For now, that's going to work. I think later on you're really not going to want to fly them solo because there's just going to be too much for that pilot to do, and it's just going to expose too many vulnerabilities in the ship. Perseus will still be my favourite in this size, more multi-role. By the way, all three can take a medical Ursa. Hammerhead adds cargo increases 60 and is carried into the Tiburon. Perseus has 90. It's horses for courses, right? Is that what the Perseus is going to be able to give you is a more sustained DPS, right? The problem with driving at someone is that your bearing movement drops massively, right? You imagine if I'm trying to shoot you, if you're running at me, you're much easier to shoot because you're not going side to side lots, right? You're running at me and you've got to close the distance. And you can't do that if you're running that way, then that way. The Perseus is able to do that. So the Perseus is able to sit at range and keep that DPS up from both turrets as long as you've got it side on. With this thing, huge amounts of DPS in the front arc. The minute you maneuver away to reset for another run, to allow your shields to recharge, whatever, at that point you are then struggling to maintain anything like that level of DPS. And that's the point, right? Is that they're not designing this for one just to be better. If you're comparing ships of similar role, and the Tiburon and Perseus absolutely right now look to be of a similar role, they are not designed to be one just better than the other. There are trade-offs. Higher initial DPS with the Tiburon in the front arcs, Perseus sustained DPS over time. And still, no trailer for the Tiburon. Well, I'm not loving that. I'm not going to lie. I mean, even a trailer would be nice. But then again, And I'm not knocking CIG necessarily. I'm just saying that it's something that they've not been as good at this year. Is the adverts, the trailers, the commercials they've been putting on have not been as illuminating as to what the ships do. They seem to be a little bit more style over substance. So yeah. Red Samurai, no, watch the video back, you sod. I'm not going over it again. Tibberon looks good, size 10, front lever, front laser, 4 size 7 single remote turrets, $700 war bond, 775 normal. So yeah. AKA, welcome in. How many Odins do you think they're going to sell? I play in a small group, and at least 5 guys I know are trying to get one. The first one for me is I play in a small group. The Odin's not for you. Of course, nothing stops you getting it, right? But clearly, we looked at this thing, and from the 3D model alone, there are 4 docking ports. There are 6 hangars. This thing is ridiculous. So there we go. But yeah, we really don't know. We really don't know. They've obviously got a lot of confidence that they're going to get the servers to the point where they can maintain something of that size. The level of detail, everything needing to be collidable. It's not the same as having a similar size, say, building or set of buildings in New Babbage, because you don't need all the stuff, right? Nowhere near as much of a draw on the servers as the Odin will be. They're clearly confident that they're going to be able to get that. How many they're willing to sell? I guess they probably talked about amongst themselves about how many they want to sell in terms of like how often. Because it's not just about how many they sell now. Are they reselling it at IE? Are they going to resell it at any other times other than those 2? Will there be other points? You know, I think they're going to have to bear all this in mind. The Odin is going to be a significant undertaking. And the other thing, I'm going to say this now about the Odin, and I'm going to say this again on Friday. I'm going to say this again on Sunday before it goes to sale. And I need people to hear me on this, because that's a lot of money. Being able to own a ship does not make you able to captain it. I'm going to say that again for those that weren't listening. Being able to own one doesn't mean you can run it. If you've ever tried raid leading, if you've ever tried being a shot caller, and I forget the name, in EVE, if you've ever tried to organise a significant number of gamers from all over the world to do stuff together and not loved it, the Odin is going to be a challenge, unless you are buying it so someone else can run it, which is odd, but I understand that people are doing that for their orgs and stuff and completely support it. Yeah, just the fact that you can buy one doesn't mean that you can run one. It's a lot of work, and actually, you know, past dedicated orgs and things, how many of us really want to have to put that level of coordination and all that sort of stuff into a game? I don't know. Maybe that's your bag, and if it is, then the Odin's looking good for you. If you're sat there going, I just want to come home and shoot stuff and fly around in my really cool spaceship, the Odin is probably a step too far. But there we go. Hey Timber, welcome in, buddy. I couldn't see flying an Odin with less than 25 persons on it at any given point in time period. Polaris versus Tiburon. Yeah, so I think the Tiburon is not. The Polaris is multi-role. The Tiburon clearly is single role. Yes, they both have weapons that can deal immediate punch, but the Polaris for me is more like a frigate. It's a multi-role ship that's able to engage on a bunch of fronts. They're able to deploy ground vehicles because of the size of the hangar and the ramp. They are able to, or the cargo bay rather, and the ramp. They have the separate hangar which can augment it in a number of ways. It's not just adding more firepower. You could put a recon ship in there and be able to do that sort of stuff. You could put a medical recovery ship in there. You can put something that has a little bit of cargo space in it, so you can go and replenish cargo. You could put a dropship in there, so the ship itself doesn't have to, go into atmosphere. You can detach from that and off you go. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with the Polaris. The Tiburon, I don't want to say one trick pony, because that indicates that it's once you face one once, it's going to be easy to defeat. That's not what I mean. But the Tibberon is a dedicated big ship killer. And if that's not what you're doing with it, it's probably massively over-engineered or under-equipped for whatever it is that you're trying to do with it. So, again, I don't think they are a straight comparison. So, yeah. I just bought one, says Wiggy. You have to buy out a couple of links in the chain. Nice. So you got the war bond and now you're connecting the rest of it. Good. We have 20 players on multiple times a week. I agree that Odin is way too big, says Aka. Yeah, absolutely. Or AKA, rather. Odin is not a lot of money. It's a muck ton of money. Absolutely, Aaron with you there, buddy. That's. I'm moving house. $5,000 is not. Nope. Absolutely, just not. So the Tiburon could be in large fleets where it can hang back attack while there's protected flank and rear. Yeah, in that respect, it is similar to the Polaris. The idea of it'll dive in and do that sort of stuff. I think a Hammerhead and this will operate very nicely together. They offset each other's weaknesses and complement each other's strengths. Which is exactly what you're looking for when you're putting ships together in a combat situation. Eve is absolute voice chat discipline or you get kicked in no time, says, I hope I'm getting this right. Nuspakex? Did I get that right? If not, I apologise. But yeah, and they're going to need to do something very similar with Star Citizen. Hey, AV. I mean, on one hand, I doubt I'll be able to crew it properly, but I also doubt I'll be able to crew anything bigger than Idris $50. Yeah. 100%. Avi, I was about to say if you have the credit to burn, I was about to say who the hell has that much credit to burn, and then I remember the people I'm in a guild with, and I'm going to stop talking now, or an org with. So there we go. 30 Eclipse, said Neilby. That's too much ship for me. Yeah, I'd do box missing in an Odin if I had one. Wiggy, you're an awful human being. Stop it. Polaris would win if multi-crew in IMO because the torp's off-axis so can circle and it can stay out of the laser cone and that sort of stuff, says AB. Yeah. The Polaris is not my taste, says Pepix, so I'd like to use my Galaxy for that. They're very different ships as well. New ship, Red Samurai, 700 Warbond, 775 non-Warbond. So, yeah. Relative to player use, the Tiburon, says John, is a battle cruiser. The Hammerhead is the cruiser, and the Perseus is the battleship. Yeah, it's not a bad comparison. Is it flyable, says Blackout? Yes, flyable right now. So, the only concepts, the only non-flyable ships left in the game, Blackout, are those that have already been sold and are waiting their inclusion. Ships like, just off the top of my head, and just a couple, ships like the Banu Merchantman, the Endeavour, the Crucible, and a bunch of others in that vein, Vulcan, that sort of stuff. Interesting. Battle.net's just decided to... Thanks, Battle.net. Weird. So that's it. And the only concept yet to be released is the Battle Cruiser, which is coming on Sunday. After that, they will not do that. Every ship release after Sunday will be straight to flyable. And the vast majority. We haven't had a concept... We didn't have a concept sale at all last year. And this Battle Cruiser is the only one. And it's understandable because this thing is chuffing huge. It's over $5,000 worth of ship. So, there we go. Genesis Steinliner, yep, loads of them. Not been released yet. But that list is getting smaller. So, there we go. I wonder how long current maintenance will take. Good question, well asked. No clue. non-engineer. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. Like I said, I've actually got to say that for once, the factory standard is by far and away my favourite paint. In fact, it's not even close. Not even close. I know some people will like that because it's a little bit more muted, the Enforcer, than the factory standard, and some people, Jamlack, will like the really gaudy red paint and stuff. But I'm all after this one. That's gorgeous. I like that a lot. So yeah, I'm keeping my Nautilus. It's a very different and possibly useful ship. The AT, however, is one on the chopping block for me now that the Eclipse can do the S10 bomb. Yeah, and that's, someone pointed that out early. So one of the things that they have added now with this is the Aegis Retaliator plus the size 5 bombs, and the Eclipse plus the size 10 bombs. So if we go to, let's go home, we'll have a quick look at the store, because I think other stuff as well kind of ends up adding itself to that. That's the Starlite stuff. Where is it? Is it equipment? I can't remember. Digital gear. I can't remember. What is it? Upgrades. No. What am I looking for, guys? Someone remind me. What am I looking for? Add-ons. Well, yeah. Why wouldn't it be add-ons? Where's that? Yes. Good spot. Well done, that man. Yeah. So there we go. Thanks, Neil. Yeah. So here we go. You've got your retaliator modules, so your cargo, you got your torpedoes, you've got your bomb racks, and all that sort of stuff. Are they honestly not selling it separately? Oh no, they are selling it separately down here. So your Aegis, Eclipse. They're even doing them war bond. Holy moly. Good lord. This is where the god awful flight blades live as well. Boo, boo, flight blades. But there we go. So you got a torpedo module as add-ons. The rear and the forward one. You've got the the cargo modules. I'm choking. Bear with me. Just going to cough a lot and mute the mic for a second. I'm back in the room. Still not sounding right, but I'm back in the room. So there we go. Yes. And then you've got the bomb racks as well for the Redeemer. Sorry, Retaliator. So I read that as I was talking, and it threw me again. So yeah, your size 3 bomb racks, that's a lot of... How many are... What? 4, 8, 12, 16. 64 bombs. Are you kidding? Am I reading that right? Four, 8, 12, 16. So 16 there, which makes 32, which makes... And then the other pack as well, I guess. Oh, interesting. Wait. Requires both the front and rear torpedo modules. Why? So you buy the modules and then you retrofit the racks. Oof. That's oof. That makes that price terrifying. Because now it's 84. Right? So if we go back to this and go back to the previous page, retaliator torpedo modules bow right? So that's whatever that is, 90. Yeah. So you're talking 150 there right off the bat. And then add your other bomb racks on top. That can't be right. So they're making So they're making the kits for the torp modules. Oof. And then for some reason the Eclipse gets size 10s and the Retaliator doesn't. Which doesn't make sense to me. At all. Like, not even a little bit. Does that make sense? Still got other weapons kits in here if you want them. We got the cargo modules for the Aurora Mark II, and there's also the Kruger stuff. And it's interesting they're still doing war gear, war bonds for these, bearing in mind that they were released Christmas last year, the kits. So yeah, just get the torp modules in games, Zensky. Yeah, you can do, absolutely. Rusty Pigeon, hello buddy, welcome in. Post-wipe though, that's a bit cheeky, because people then suddenly have to go and buy them. Not living that. Yeah. So, yeah, they did it weird. Instead of a bomb module, they made a kit. Bizarre. When are we getting to get II crew members? I'm going to make a guess. So there is no official line at the moment. I'm going to make a guess and say the AI ones are going to be post 1.0, I think. I think we'll get AI blades well before AI crew members. Because blades only have to do one thing. The AI crew members, I think we're going to need a UI to order them around. There's going to need a payment system. There's probably rep and stuff. I know what Chris is like. He's going to want you to be able to interact with them and talk with them and develop them and that sort of stuff, because that's just what Chris likes in his games. Bearing in mind the Wing Commander series, which Chris was a significant part of, especially in the early days, is basically the game series that pioneered the idea of reputation amongst your NPC allies. It basically birthed that whole system. So, he, along with everyone else working on the game at the time, pioneered that whole idea. So just bear that in mind. Eve, good to see you, buddy. Go and enjoy some food. Catch you in a bit. Space Effects, welcome in. Enska, and everyone else that I've not said hello to, welcome in. Really good to see you all. There we go. The stealthy Eclipse circling a bunch of Tibberons and taking them out with torpedoes sounds fun, says Malemba. Yep, I too am an agent of chaos. AI crew is post 1.0 according to Mr. Crew. There you go. There's that. I'm very disappointed no missile or torp racks for the A1 or A2. Yeah, so I don't know how you do that, because the designs are so integral to them. Because they're not modules you can switch out. They are just there, right? They're interior designs. I don't know how you would do that. It would have to be a very different system. But yeah, I get that you're disappointed. AI blades will probably be in for 1.0 for remote turrets, maybe. Not sure about man turrets. We'll see. I mean, the thing is, the AI blades, in effect, you do the same with NPCs, right? Is that the NPC sat in a seat, they don't get out and walk around. They're just gunning it. Yeah. So it wouldn't be hard, I think, to copy that across, and then just the blade be on or off. Then again, I'm not a programmer, and I might be talking absolute rubbish. Caveat with all that, but I think that's probably a closer thing for them to implement than anything else at this point. So yeah. Retaliator doesn't get Moabs though, only size 3 and size 5. Yeah, that's why I said it was weird. For me, it would make sense the other way around, because the Retaliator is nowhere near as stealth as the Eclipse. It would make sense that because you can actually spot it coming from further away, the Retaliator would get the more powerful weapon, as opposed to the other way around. I just feel like it's another nail in the Retaliator's coffin, as it were, and it makes me think that they need to do even more to rework it. Because that's a lot of crew, when you think the turrets are, what, size 2 weapons, why would you put that many crew on one of those things? I absolutely support the idea of like the B-52 or the Lancaster bomber gameplay idea, that dream, that's great, but you've got to make it worth players' whiles as well. Why would you put 6 players on a Retaliator with size 5 bombs when you can have 6 Eclipses, the same player in 6 Eclipses with size 10s? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. Most recent news, says John, is that the man turrets cannot be bladed. Interesting. So I knew they said it about a couple of things. I know they've said that there are turrets that cannot be bladed, but I haven't seen that announcement. So, yeah. Direct all inquiries to John for that, because I've not seen that announcement myself. For the telly, I think it's because the internal volume isn't big enough to carry 2 size 10 bombs. I think it is. If you fit it in the Eclipse, surely you'll fit it in the telly. It's been a while since I've flown either one. But surely... I don't know if that's true. I'm wondering how crafting in the carrot will affect its ability to do displace acceleration, also fuel scooping, production, etc. I think it's going to work because as you wear components down, it'll be able to build its own little components. Or maybe because it's a repair kind of shack, right? In the Carrack, rather than a crafting center. It might be, you know how they said if you run components down, you'll be able to repair them to a certain point but no further. Maybe you can repair them to a better quality in the Carrack. Don't know. Be interested to see how they implement it. Not to mention bombs carry more than the mission pays out. Ta-da! Yep. How bombers bankrupt themselves. So yeah, they need the Retaliator to do the ability to do electronic countermeasures whilst in bomber mode, says Chief Paranoid. CIG's original plan for the AI turret blades was that they'd be for remote turrets only. Manned turrets would still have to be manned. Not sure if they've changed plans. Yeah, that was the understanding. And then they were talking about being able to blade manned turrets, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure. Didn't they say that for the Perseus? I can't remember now. Oh, that's a good point. Tibberon Q&A. There was one of those, wasn't there? And I said we'd go and read that, and then completely forgot that it was there. Let's go do the Q&A. Let's go do the Q&A. Let's find out. So, explore, comlinks. This is where we go. And there's the Robot Roundup. We will have a look at that, and there's a Q&A for the... holy moly. There's a lot of stuff here. Right, which one's which? I'm guessing this is the same one, right? This is the sale page. Fine. Whatever. Then we've got this one. And that's that page. So not that. I guess this is for everything then, for the Tiburon as well. Okay, Ironclad and Ironclad Assault then. Crikey, there's a lot here, but we can go through it. That's fine, because it will be really interesting to see how much money they made in the first hour with the Tiburon. So let's do this first and go through. So how have the Ironclads changed since they were first concepted? Since the concept, the primary change has been the internal layout in the rear half of the ship, prioritising ease of traversal throughout. The original concept interior had a lot of back and forth traversal across the width of the ship. Now there are additional stairwells and ladders to help cut down movement time, which is good. Changes occurred in the hold, resulted in increased cargo capacity by adjusting the cargo grid size to allow for more space utilisation while maintaining a clear path through the centre. Happy with that. They both are clear to be well equipped for multiple roles beyond their intended usage as armoured freight and combined arms platforms. What types of multi-crew gameplay can you see them excelling at? And they say, yes, they both got the capacity to go well beyond their intended roles. Okay, for example, other vehicles can be stowed within the cargo hold, allowing the Ironclads to serve as motherships or hubs for other gameplay loops. So that sounds like it's intended. There's been a lot of talk about carriers and if it fits, it sits. Is that going to be what it is? Or is it going to be a case of they only lock down to the pads? But this seems to be indicating they're intending now, at least for the near term, that people will be able to store other vessels within both ships. It says specifically the ironclads to serve as motherships. So even though only one has the repair, rearm, refuel function, that's the assault, they're intending for both to do that. User, welcome in, buddy. In the future, crafting bombs may make them far more accessible to orgs for cheap. I hope not. I hope not. So yeah, might be able to blind man turrets, but you can simply hire NPC to crews to use them. Right, so with the release of the Ironclad, the Caterpillar will also receive its command module. Okay, whilst it can be used with the command module, whilst the Ironclad's module can be used with the Caterpillar, is the reverse true. Both ships share an identical command module, meaning yes, you can interact, and this is why it still has beds and drop seats. So that's those. Can you tell us more about the Ironclad Assault's Fabricator? What can it craft, and how does it fit into the utility role? Like the Clipper, the Ironclad Assault features a Fabricator, and when available in a future patch, it will be able to craft any available blueprint directly to and from the cargo grid. However, it is not enabled at launch due to the functionality of fabricating to and from vehicle grids not currently being available. Okay, so it exists, you can't use it yet. Ironclad has multiple tractor beams. Are they the same? They're all the same size, but due to their different locations and ability to be moved, they provide multiple angles of coverage for loading and unloading. Okay, so you might need to switch between them. How does the repair and refuel functionality work, and can it be used on small ships as well as ground vehicles? Like other select ships in 4.8, the Ironclad Assault features the initial implementation of ship hangar services. It's ship-wide, so any ground vehicle or ship within the Ironclad Assault can utilize it. However, in a future patch, this will be limited to the rear third of the cargo bay, which is the designated repair area. So they're not limiting it to... I thought that was going to read, however, we're going to limit that to ground vehicles. No, it's not. They're going to limit that to just one section of the cargo bay. Yeah, all right. That's a lot less disappointing than the alternative, right? So there we go. Okay, it was previously mentioned that the Ironclad could not be flown independently with a command module detached. Okay, how do you envisage pilots making use of these capabilities in game? The ability to leave behind the main hull allows for easier atmospheric entry and exit while leaving the parent ship above the planet to carry on doing whatever activities are required. Interesting. And a nice touch. How do insurance claims work where the command module is detached and the main ship is lost or destroyed? If the main ship is lost or destroyed, the claim will return the host vehicle with a new command module attached, effectively claiming both at once. Any previously stored command module from that ship will be bricked, whether it was stored at the time of the claim or not. Bricked modules remain visible in the Fleet Manager and can be removed through the ASOP new scrap option. If the loadout is insured, players can select the insured loadout option when filing the claim. This returns both the command module and the host vehicle with the snapshot of the prior loadout changes applied. The command module can, however, be claimed on its own without triggering a claim of the host vehicle. Okay, so if you take the command module down to the planet and it gets nuked, you can still do that and then take it back to the in orbit, and yeah, great. Fine, that works. Hey, Essie, good to see you. No worries, my friend. So it might be smaller vehicles if it's the rear cargo bay, very potentially. Or at least, I suppose, if you're partly in it, that would be that. With ship armor now implemented, how does this system affect the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault's performance and role in the broader fleet? And how do they sit in the landscapes of ships like the M2, C2 and Star Lancer? The Ironclad takes its place as a durable industrial hauler, meaning it's going to have fairly decent armour plated for sustained industrial operations. The Assault carries improved armour on top of that, letting it endure stressful situations better than the original Ironclad. Looking at armour capabilities, the Ironclads sit in the middle of the pack, better protected than the C2s and Starlancer, but below more refined military platforms like the M2 Hercules. Even so, both Ironclad variants carry more base hull HP, letting them keep soaking up damage long after lighter rivals will be disabled. Okay, so you'll get through the armour quicker, but you've got a bigger health pool to delete when you get there. Fine. Do we want to do the Drake Pitbull and the Origin M80? Do you guys want the whole thing? I realise this is a lot of reading and not a lot of interacting, and it's kind of hard to keep that engaging. Do you guys want to go through the whole thing? Let me know. Yes, no, indifferent? Or do we just want to skip ahead to the Tibberon? Should we do the Tibberon bit anyway? Do it, says Ashra. What do we think? Interaction is free. Don't get the defib, because I'll come out there and defib you guys just to make sure you're still alive. Please go on, Suzanne. Fantastic. Okay, so the Pitbull then. This is the Pitbull section now. So, it. Nice, Timble. I got the reference. Can you give us an overview of the Pitbull's armaments and what kind of targets it was built to take on? Yeah, it's a snub. We know what the guns are. And we know it's going to go after other stuff. What sets the Pitbull aside... Excuse me. Ugh, it's been a long day at work. Ships like the Mirai Fury. The Pitbull trades resilience for aggression. Where the Fury concentrates on fire through 4 size 2 guns, the Pitbull spreads it across 6 barrels. 4 size 1, 2 size 2, putting more rounds on target at the cost of per shot punch. Built on a lighter frame, it pitches harder, accelerates faster and turns tighter in the close fight, but pays for that edge with a more fragile hull that cannot trade hits. Okay, more manoeuvrable, less armour, more shots on target, less punch per shot. That makes sense to me. How many Pitbulls can the Ironclad Assault carry? Simply put, lots. With some careful arrangement, it can easily go into double figures, allowing for the Ironclad to become a snub carrier. How many did we fit? How many wolves did we fit on the Idris, guys? It was a lot, right? I've still got some footage somewhere. We fit a lot of wolves on the Idris. So I would imagine it's the numbers would be similar. With tactical strike groups releasing alongside the Pitbull, how does the ship's hit and run design philosophy translate into that gameplay? While not packing heavy firepower to damage larger ships, a swarm of Pitbulls is a great hit and run deterrent to help screen larger ships and provide complementary fire support. Yeah, and I would imagine it'll do some damage to shields and stuff as well, kind of getting that down. In addition to dogfighting and swarm tactics, the Pitbull's minimalist approach and high speed seem like they'd make for a competent racer. Is this something you considered? Okay, most snubs suit racing, but the Pitbull is not specifically tailored to it. Yeah, so racing Pitbull when? Question mark. Don't know. As a snub fighter lacking a quantum drive, the Pitbull was clearly designed to be carried within a larger vessel. Which ships was the Pitbull designed to fit within? As part of the initial design brief, the Pitbull was to not exceed the volume of the Fury to maximise transport suitability, so any ship that can fit a Fury should be capable of fitting a Pitbull. A great thematic example is the Ironclad Assault, as this allows the storage of multiple Pitbulls as well as ship hangar services, providing fleet support to other operations. And I think, did I hear right, the Pitbull actually fits in the max, right? Because that's a Fury hangar. Is that right? Okay, on to the M80. I'm not going to go on to the fighter category stuff. They kind of said that in the video. We know what role situations it's in. It's an interceptor, fast in straight lines, not great on the turn. How will it stand up against other heavy fighters? Compared to other heavy fighters, the M80 is not lacking in firepower, featuring such size 4 and size 5. It packs a concentrated punch against heavier targets rather than an overwhelming volume of lighter fire as per some heavy fighters. Fine. How did they approach balancing agility for the ship, and how does that translate into what pilots will actually feel in the cockpit compared to those other heavy fighters? The M80 carries Origin's racing heritage, with top-end speed that outpaces the vast majority of the lineup, sitting just behind the Scorpius series. Pilots will feel this when closing on a target or breaking away, where the M80 is quicker than its peers. To balance that pace and its heavy weapon loadout, the M80 traders pitch and yaw for snappier roll authority. Most importantly, it runs at a noticeably lighter and more fragile hull, the key trade-off that defines its character. Glass cannon, in other words. So there we go. Origin is known for bespoke features. Are there any about the M80 that stand out? Relative to other Origin ships, the M80 is modest in feature set, pairing heavy firepower in a single-seater with a small cargo capacity to provide flexibility. Yeah, and I like that. I think that's quite nice. Yeah, so it basically says, hey, it's got a hidden weapon loadout. Yes, it has. Correct. So, here we go. Can you walk us through the process of refueling for the MISC Starlite? So we're now onto the MISC Starlite. Refueling recently received an update that will slightly change the way it works. Overall, it will require less input, though it still has some important management in the background that players can optimize. Yeah, I'm not sure you want to make less input. You make it more intuitive, make it more fun, make it easy to understand, but less seems to say simplified. The process is the refueling ship owner enters refueling mode, which will automatically extend the fuel nozzle. Once that's done, any incoming or outgoing docking request is interpreted as the refueling offer or request. So if you make it to another ship, it's an offer. If they make it to you, it's a request. Accepting the request will trigger the docking process. Once docked, the player will asking for fuel can open their Moby glass to order it. The refueling ship owner then has to make sure that the relevant fuel pods are open. If they're already open, refueling will start and complete automatically. The player can influence refueling speed by having the correct pods open that benefit fuel flow. Refueling players should pay attention to the new pods being introduced in the in-game shops. Okay. Fair enough. I understand that. What makes it different to the Starfarer and what makes them similar? Compared to the Starfarer, the biggest separator is a fuel capacity. While they share the same pods, the Starfarer carries twice the capacity of the Starlite. Okay. Is the Starlite best suited to small to medium ships, or can it service larger vessels? It's better suited to smaller ships. Larger ones can be serviced, albeit with a lower fuel capacity, so it's not effective as the Starfarer at larger jobs. Fair enough. Can it refuel itself? No, is the answer to that. It can refuel from other ships, but it can't do it to itself. Being the first entry-level refueler, how will players grow with this ship? Though entry-level, the only limitation with the refueling loop is the total capacity of fuel on board. The Starlite is fully compatible with the same alternative nozzle upgrades as the Starfarer. Right, so it's capacity. That's the only difference. It's not like, for example, the Golem, where it's a bespoke mining head, and if you want to change the mining heads, you've got to, go and get yourself another ship, and then start to introduce that gameplay to yourself. This is different. The only difference is you can't carry as much fuel. And that's kind of cool. How profitable will refueling be compared to salvaging, hauling, and mining? We treat refueling as a full, viable profession. While players should be able to earn a living in the verse with every profession we introduce, we acknowledge this sort of balancing is a complex and ongoing process that will evolve with the game. That's a long way of saying we have no idea at this point. Right? I think what's going to be really interesting here is the answer they could have gone is that you can vertically integrate the chains here to increase your profitability. As you refuel, you're going to have to buy Quantanium, you're going to have to buy hydrogen fuel. Oh. Had a blip, a momentary blip. just a glimmer, right? But you've got that, right? So we've got this momentary kind of, you've got this chain. If you go and mine and find this stuff, if you go and siphon it or, do the gas cloud refining, if you then refine it yourself in an expanse or a galaxy and then fuel it, yes, it will take longer, but you'll get more profit overall because you're not buying the raw materials, you're not paying other people to do it. And that would be a nice answer. And I think that's the way they're taking this, and that's kind of cool. But it's that line, it's where they said about everything being a profession. So we treat refueling as a full viable profession. Well, make it as interesting as the other stuff. Make refueling not necessarily more time consuming because you're dealing with other people, but give us stuff to do other than open, close. That's not a gameplay loop. Just saying. With the introduction of Starlite, will we see more refueling missions? Yes. They're in with 4.8, and we'll look at that update in a second. What can pilots expect when it comes to handling and steering? The Starlite is positioned as an introduction to refueling, with handling tuned for accessibility over raw performance. Forward thrust is responsive, and lateral and vertical movement are tweaked down to allow more forgiving adjustment maneuvers, i.e. positioning themselves will be easier because it won't suddenly go yeet, which also means it will be slower to do those things, so you don't overcompensate. Pilots can expect a stable, predictable ride that suits the measured pace of refueling work. Sedate ship, not massively fast acceleration, probably faster deceleration to be more forgiving, but yeah, there we go. Refueling seems too simple in my opinion, says Ireland. I agree. With improved docking coming to the Verse, how will this impact the Starlite? The Starlite will benefit from the improved docking functionality, just like other ships that refuel or use docking, be it host to parasite or ship to station docking. We like that. Do you think the Tibberon will be able to take on capital ships like the Polaris and Idris on its own? It's not delivery. I think we'll find that out in a second, because we are literally just about to read the Q&A. So let's see what they say. All I would say is size 10 beam weapon sounds pretty chonky to me. Okay. With the Perseus, Hammerhead and Tiburon forming a trio of gunships, how does each fill a distinct role? Each of the heavy gunships occupies a different profile. The Perseus is designed for engaging large sub-capital. The Hammerhead is anti-fighter, and the Tiburon takes on capital ships with its combination of size 10 beam weapon and primarily forward-facing size 7 ballistic turrets. There you go. So yes, it sounds like it's going to take Polaris and Idris. Whether it'll take it on its own or not will depend on their loadout, shields, all that sort of stuff. But that's interesting. The Tiburon's Supremacy 10T laser beam is hard to miss. Can you tell us more about the signature weapon? Made by Hurston Dynamics, and like the Exodus, is a custom integration into the chassis. Great. How does that laser affect its flight? It's built around a weapon powerful enough to threaten capital class ships, and the rest of the hull gives way to that. Flight performance pays the price, sitting below the Hammerheads with slower response and a heavier manoeuvring feel. This is the cost of carrying so much firepower into a fight. So there you go. Against stuff that can manoeuvre well, that's not necessarily cap ships, this is going to struggle. It runs 2 size 3 power plants to power its components, turrets and laser beam. How does this setup meet the ship's demanding power needs in combat and inform its fighting style? Compared to the Hammerhead, which runs an identical power loadout for 24 smaller weapons versus a single size 10, it's similar. However, the initial design acknowledged a power limitation, hence the decision to use ballistic weapons on the remote turrets for both power and anti-capital ship roll reasons. Yeah, so putting energy on it is going to be a bad idea. I think the size 7s are also bespoke, aren't they? So you can't unmount them and put energy on and then screw yourselves over. Flush the fuel lines after a refill on the ability to either buy the raw oil and refine it into fuel, or as Elite does it with normal fuel scoop. Yeah, that it's all coming. Well, now I have the Tibberon, says Wiggy. Chain complete. Nice. $340 chain. Nicely done, mate. Most of the time, we'll be flying to the customer, not actually doing anything in the middle of the mission. Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be a quantum travel simulator. With a laser beam built for taking on large ships, how does the Tiburon fare against swarms of smaller ships? The Tiburon retains the quad man turret at the rear, but it's limited in its coverage and more of a defensive measure than an offensive one. The remote turrets pack a hefty blow to anything caught in their path, though they're not as effective at countering small ships, in the same way that the Perseus size 8s weren't supposed to be able to be particularly good at countering fighters, although if you get in its way, you'll feel it. How does it hold up defensively? Like other heavy gunships, the Tiburon features extensive and durable armour as its main protection point. Okay. Can you fly it solo, and how does it balance for multi-crew? The main beam can be pilot controlled, so while it's possible to fly solo, the Tiburon will be wide open to attack from every other angle. And yeah, that's a weakness. So there we go. The Tiburon's remote turret guns look integrated into the turrets themselves. Can you tell us what weapons they are, and are they swappable? So, the size 7 ballistic cannons featured on the remote turrets are identical to the bearing guns features on the Idris T's main turret kit. Does that mean they're swappable? Please answer the question, CIG. Because now, in order to answer that, I have to have an Idris T main turret kit. And I don't. So what's the answer? Rubbish. The Tiburon has a pointed bow. Where does the docking airlock go? The Tiburon does not have a docking port at all. Interesting. That's going to make fleet ops a little bit interesting. I was trying to find another word. With the second laser beam weapon now in the game, are there plans to introduce them in other sizes? Yes, although we currently don't plan to introduce them in the smaller size weapon classes, instead retaining them for use on larger ships. So yeah, so the beam weapons will be larger ships. So there you go. 6 p.m. is gone. Next data point in the graph should be ready. I agree. So there you go. There's the Q&A in there. Everything's standing out. We will go and have a quick look at the funding, because that's interesting, and then we'll come back to look at the patch report. So let's have a look. Hour then. Oh my god, there you go, 1.4 mil. $1.4 mil. That graph was bumpy. It was at one point, and now it's not. 1.4, so $1,441,027 in 1 hour. That, ladies and gents, is a popular ship. A very popular ship. We're going to see a crap ton of them kicking around. Space Pirate News Network, that's all new money, right? Not buys with store credits, no, that's all new money. So, new ships, CCUs, all that sort of stuff. The other gear, the Retaliator and Eclipse Bombays, that's all new. So yeah, holy shit, right? In an hour. I had to clone myself a couple of times to fly my Percy at the same time. Oh wait, already done. My 2 daughters have been told they are to help crew my ship's glory days. Nice press ganging. As a former member of the Royal Navy, I am fully in favour of press ganging, obviously. Matt P says, so what would be perfect one-person attack craft to take down solo Tiburon pilots? Anything with heavy weapons. I mean, you'd have a lot of fun killing a Tiburon with an Ares, I think. That. An Eclipse is going to do it some serious harm because it doesn't have PDCs. Yeah, you got a few things out there. So yeah, there you go. Okay, and then the last bit. Let's have a look at the patch report and what is coming out. So we got the roadmap update. Roadmap Roundup. All of the 4 Oh, is that it? Is that it? That was anticlimactic. CIG. WTF. That was anticlimactic as sin. And then, really disappointingly, I'm still not seeing a Tibberon commercial. Oh, come on, CIG, with a ship that size. I mean, maybe they decided they didn't need to because it's a ship of that size. But that's just, come on. Boo. Didn't like that too much. So there we go. Yep, so just to recap then, we had the Tibberon $700 war bond, $775 non-war bond. The Redeemer is 2 days out. Daily war bond, 300 instead of 330. We've had the Q&A out. The Tibberon is looking like a solid, punchy ship for dealing with capitals against the Paracelsus sub-cap slaying abilities. And my oh my, from this front, I'm just going to do this again because this is by far my favourite shot of this ship, which makes me weird, I get it. This is also going to be the least likely place you want to be in front of a Tiburon staring down the barrel of that beam weapon. But oh my god, that looks great. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun taking this up against the Mauler and tactical strike groups and doing that thing some damage. It's a pretty ship. I might need to put this on the list of things to watch. For now, for me, the factory standard paint is my favourite one, but this might be something that I try first in the verse and then give a go later. Yeah. Impressive. So then, for the rest of the week on Friday, we have the Crusader Industries and Tumble Land Systems Day. It's going to be a little bit of a quiet one because there's not much going on that day. We don't have any planned releases, so that's going to be a bit chill. I'll try and get some footage of me being in the ships because with everything else that's running in the background, I can play the game fine. Trying to play this and stream it at the same time, not so much, doesn't like it. Okay, so I'll see if I can have a look around a couple of the ships and talk about what I like and what I don't like. So we can use those videos. And then on Sunday, Anvil Aerospace Day, the 24th, will be the release of the Odin to the Odin Founders Club. The people that have had the emails have started to go out. We don't know if they've all been released yet, but check your emails if you have applied, see whether or not you can get one. We'll talk all about it. There's a Star Citizen Live. We'll watch that as well. And when I know the timings, I'll make sure that with plenty of notice, I put up the warning about the live stream so we can watch the Star Citizen Live ourselves. We can have a look at the Odin itself. It's going to come out in limited waves. It is now, as we have just found out, a significant amount of money. It's about $5,000, there or thereabouts, depending on how you purchase it. So we'll have a look at that on Sunday as well. And then we have the finale stuff, 26th and 27th. And they have told us that on those days there will be war bonds available that were not previously available. I don't know whether I'll stream those or whether I'll just put a notice up on the channel, maybe a community post, but definitely in the Discord, the link to which you can find down below in the channel. So yeah, DefenseCon shaping up to be a very serious ILW contender because you're not just limited to military ships, other stuff is leaking through as well. Yeah. Get yourself in game, get yourself down to the expo hall. For the next 2 days, that Tiburon is available for you to try before you buy if you want to. But loads of people in chat seem to have got themselves one as well. And that is also kind of cool. Pilgrim, welcome in, buddy. Just made a change to the Tiburon from UTV. Managed to get 72% off the price. Nice. There we go. Yeah. Very popular. Good ship vid will be the cherry on top. It really would, Pepix, absolutely. It's a real shame that they didn't do it. The shark paint on the Tiburon is different. Yeah, a little bit in the Idris kind of vein, that one, but it's got to be the stock for me. I'm much more a fan of that one than I am, well, basically, anything else that we've seen, I'm going to say. So there we go. Yep, so again, see you on Friday. We'll do Sunday as well, and then we'll look at the rest of DefenseCon and figure out whether or not we do other streams. In the meantime, you know where the Discord is. It's down in the link below. come join us, come have a chat. If you see us in there, you're always welcome to pop in and talk. We'd be pleased to have you. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.